Hello and welcome once again to the Thrifty Collector. It's been a while. My daughter was in town, had lots of fun. Decided not to do any videos, but we're going to do some returns that I have. I did do a private signing with somebody, and I prepay to get these autographs done. So the first one, the Hacksaw Jim Duggan, is going to be a quick, easy story. The second one is not going to be such an easy story. So this is the Hacksaw Jim Duggan Wrestling All-Stars card. You've seen that I do have quite a few of these. I did buy these a long time ago, talking 5, 8 years at least. Back when these things were relatively cheap, and of course, I'd like to wish I had purchased more. Now, if you looked at a lot of the other people on YouTube, they've talked about how sports cards pretty much have all been going down, 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 down. People are realizing that the prices were completely overinflated, that a regular Prism rookie card of some basketball player that came out as a PSA 10 is not worth $15,000. But we're going to go over some of these. But wrestling is one of the few categories that's going up. Why? Well, one of the reasons why is that you have the pop art feeling of wrestling. Wrestling is not like every other sport where people kind of go more towards the players now. With wrestling, people go more towards the people that they grew up with, which I wish that was with the other sports. Why some kid that's 17 years old his rookie card is worth more than a Tom Seaver rookie card, I don't know. But we're going to go over some of these and talk about these. But the fact that wrestling is going up in value, there's that reason. And like I said, I think it's a pop culture thing. People my age, maybe even a little bit younger, grew up in the 80s watching Hulk Hogan when he came back to the WWF. You had the Rock and Wrestling. It was a phenomenon, and Hulk Hogan actually made the cover of Sports Illustrated, which was a big deal. Because even though a lot of people still believe wrestling was real, a lot of people, especially in the sporting, like the Sports Illustrated, they knew it was kind of predetermined. So a lot of people going back to that, and going back to the 90s when what I like to call the second big boom of the modern era of wrestling, when the NWO came out, and then you had DX come out. So both of those were really installed in American society, and the fact that they got millions and millions of viewers, where the wrestling today, a lot of them are lucky if they get 100,000 people, and so there's a big difference. But this is the Hacksaw Jim Duggan, and I was always a big fan of Jim Duggan. I was actually watching the WWF when he hit Andre the Giant with the 2x4. And I still remember to this day, I don't remember how many years ago it was, probably the early 90s, had to have been maybe late 80s. And I remember Duggan had the blood kind of dripping out of his mouth. So that was kind of a big deal to me. And then he went to WCW, and they put him in a janitor suit and made him the janitor. But loved watching Hacksaw Jim Duggan, the whole kind of thing. And the fact that he, kind of played off on that patriotic thing was always kind of neat. Interesting thing about him and Iron Sheik wrestled, and were actually driving in a car together after the show, and they got in a little bit of trouble, but they got in a lot more trouble, not with the authorities, but with the home office at the WWF, because it made people say, why are these guys wrestling each other, trying to hurt each other, and then they're having a good old time in a car driving down the road. So my Hacksaw Jim Duggan, I think I paid about $30 to get these signed. I long for the days when most wrestlers, even of this caliber, were $10, $5. There was a while I was getting, I got Greg Valentine card signed, 3 for $10. So those days are long gone, with the promoters and the wrestlers themselves kind of smartening up. The second card, and this is kind of where the story gets good, is this Ken Patera card. Now, I prepaid for this card to get signed, and then about a year and a half ago, I sent this card off. The promoter sent it back to me unsigned. Oh, I'm sorry. He said, but I got another Ken Patera signing coming up. I'm going to go ahead and I'll get it done then. And so I was like, okay, because it was about the same time as the Duggan. Well, as you can tell now, I'm 0 for 2. This is kind of almost like the Scott Hall card that I have, the Chromie card, where I paid for a signing and the promoters, and I put on there, please put, hey, yo. Scott Hall put, hey, yo, didn't sign it. I got the card. I called the promoter. I said, hey, there's no signature on here, just hey, yo. And we kind of laughed about it. He says, well, send it back to me. I'll go ahead and get Scott Hall to sign it again next time. Well, the funny thing was I got the card back from the promoter again, and it was unsigned yet again. So I had to send it for a third time. And when Scott Hall passed away, I did have both of those cards slabbed. And I actually sold the one that was a little bit nicer and in blue Sharpie, just because of the story behind that Scott Hall card. It's a story that I'll never forget, that it took literally 3 times to get that one signed. So Ken Patera, if you don't know much about him, he was in the Olympics, considered one of the strongest men ever around, especially for a guy in the 70s, went to the Olympics, became a pro wrestler, and actually spent some time in prison because him and I think it was Haku wanted McDonald's, and McDonald's said, sorry, we're closed. So Patera decided to throw a rock through their window. They called the cops. The cops went to arrest Patera, and he decided that he was going to try and take on 2-3 cops. So he actually spent like 2-3 years in prison for all of that. So, but if you ever listen to Ken Patera interviews, he's something else. You might want to maybe Google it or something like that. Just don't listen to any of his interviews with children in the room, because he does kind of throw out a little coarse language the entire interview. So, but that's my Wrestling All-Star story. I do have some other wrestling cards going out. One of them is the 1988 Tony Schiavone card. Still haven't sent this out. I need to set it out. I love the way that if you look at where the canvas is, that's going to be a great place for him to sign. Hopefully he signs his name from left to right and not all over the place into the darkness. That's the one problem with these Wonderama cards. The fact that a lot of them were so dark because they didn't turn on the lights in the stadiums or in the arenas, because they didn't want people to see how little people were in there. But this is going to end up being a great card. Hopefully I can send this out today or tomorrow. We can get that back, and then we'll go ahead and see how well Tony signs. I have about 100 of the 1995 main event cards of his. So maybe I'll throw one of those in, or maybe not try to be too greedy, since this is an 88 and these cars have skyrocketed. I bought a box of these about 5 years ago, give or take, I think for like 40, 45 bucks, something in that range. Now you can't even touch them at that price. The only problem with them was their packs only came with like 5 cards, and one of them every time was the Ric Flair header card, which they have absolutely no value. And I was going to put this set together, but it's just so darn hard to get some of the cards that I need. The boxes were horribly correlated. There's some cards I had like 4 and 5 of a guy, and then I didn't have any of the next 4 or 5 cards in the set. So I don't know what I'm going to do for that. But thanks for checking out. Sorry I've been gone so long. I'm going to probably do a few more videos today because I've got absolutely nothing else to do here at work. So everybody have a great day. Stay thrifty. Take care.